This is Neeley of the Classic Metal Show, and I'm speaking with Clark Roberson of a sponsor of the Classic Metal Show from Amplified Parts. How are things in Arizona today there, Clark?
Oh, good, Neeley. It's, middle of September, so it's a nice cool 105 out here today. How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Well, Clark, the reason we wanted to bring you on is to talk about Amplified Parts and all the things that you offer people who are definitely into the music gear or gearheads, as it were. And you guys have quite a selection over there at your website over at amplifiedparts.com. Can you tell us a little bit about the business and what you offer?
Yeah, exactly. We've been around for a couple decades in one form or the other. Amplified Parts is a parts warehouse out in Arizona. Our specialty is tube amplifiers, guitars, and then, kits, pedals, things like that. So we sell capacitors, resistors, tube sockets, pretty much anything that you could need to build an amplifier.
Excellent. Well, I got to ask you, Clark, how long have you been in the business of, dealing with parts and musical instruments?
I've been at this company about 4 years now, but I've been doing music-related stuff for probably about 20 years. I used to work at a retail place, and I've been in a band for a lot of years, so I've had plenty of opportunities to call this company and get parts when they break at my gigs,
Absolutely.
I ran into these guys a lot before I started working for them, so it was a very good deal.
Very good. Well, since technology is always evolving, you guys seem to appeal to the old school style musician who actually, can actually pick up a guitar or plug into an amp rather than depend on computerized music that seems to be so prevalent in the marketplace today. And has the advances in technology put any kind of a crimp on the business for an Amplified Parts, or are you more affiliated with people who like to go old school, much like the return of vinyl records?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just got into vinyl records myself last year, so I know the feeling of going back to the old school. And we a lot of our customers, they'll dip their toes in technology, but they really like to be planted in that old school sound. I mean, nothing beats a good tube amplifier turned up in front of a good crowd of people. It's just really, there's nothing else like it, So we have a lot of customers that call us. They don't go on the web, that you can still call us without making an order on the website and do an order over the phone with us. We still have catalogs. So, we deal with a lot of guys that love the old technology.
Do you know the reason why a company like Amplified Parts is located in Arizona as opposed to, say, Los Angeles or New York or maybe even Chicago? What is the genesis of the company?
I think it's really just where the guys that own the company come from. We get asked all the time, you guys are in a weird spot in the country, and we always think, well, this is just where we're at. I mean, we're pretty close to the L.A. guys. We can get stuff out to California really fast. We ship all over the world. So I think in the 21st century, you can really just be located on a computer somewhere and get your stuff out to everybody, But we haven't had any discussions about opening up an East Coast version as of yet.
Right. Now, have you dealt with known musicians? Were you surprised to ever get a phone call from somebody, let's say like a Joe Perry from Aerosmith or somebody like that? Who's the most famous person you may have rubbed elbows with or serviced their equipment?
We get a lot of surprise calls here. One of our most famous customers, and he has been a customer for a lot of years, is Joe Walsh, of all people. And he works on his own stuff. I mean, he'll have the Dr. Z amps that he's famous for playing, but he still messes around with like ham radios, and he still likes to tweak on his own amplifiers and get in there and mess around with parts himself. So every once in a while, Joe will call and just kind of place an order out of nowhere. So it's always an exciting day. But we get a lot of rock guys that are much farther up than you would think call and do their own repairs. You'd be very surprised some of the names that we hear call in over here.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you something about the business here. What has, say, one of the most oddball pieces of equipment that you've been asked to supply parts for? I know there's some really rare amps out there. There's some, rare pickups and things like that. What is one of the most oddball things that comes to your recollection as to somebody asking for, and you go, "Yep, we could get that."
One of the weirdest things we get calls for are the new old stock tubes, tubes that aren't made anymore, that are from the Cold War era, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, and we still supply a ton of those tubes, and they work in all kind of wacky equipment, not musical-related stuff, but your chiropractor, the machines that you get your back adjusted on, run off of tubes. So we'll have guys calling us, and they might have some high-end lab gear that does plasma etching or something very bizarre like that. But as far as like musical-related stuff, we'll get guys that call that have really old PA systems or something that wasn't intended to be a guitar amplifier back in the 50s, and guys will kind of cobble them together and refashion them as a guitar amp. So we get a lot of players calling looking for pretty bizarre parts for like a 1950s Alamo PA or something bizarre like that, But that's mainly it. The oldest thing I've talked to a guy about was an early 40s guitar amplifier made by Rickenbacker.
Nice.
Which was pretty interesting. And we had the tubes for it. We had the tubes he needed.
Excellent. Well, if you're looking for those hard-to-find parts for some of your old musical gear or otherwise, as Clark has pointed out there, you can go over to amplifiedparts.com, or you can call their number over there at 480-296-0890, and they're located right there in Tempe, Arizona, over at 6221 South Maple Avenue. Or you can send them an email over there at info@amplifiedparts.com, or just call them up, and I'm sure Clark would be happy to assist you.
Oh, yeah. We're always thrilled to talk to people. We get to learn stuff every day like that, So it makes for an interesting day throughout the day. And we also carry all of the Jensen speakers. We import those from Italy. So we've got the complete line of Jensen as well as Celestion and Eminent speakers. So lots of good options for all the guys.
Absolutely. And if you go to their website, amplifiedparts.com, you can look through their catalog and you can order directly off the web. And I guarantee you that they'll probably have exactly what you need. So for all you old school gearheads who are repairing your own amps and guitar heads and pickups and whatnot, I'm sure you can find what you're looking for at Amplified Parts. Well, Clark, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners about Amplified Parts?
Well, not really. You probably would run into us every once in a while. We have eBay stores and Amazon stores as well under Amplified Parts, so you can look for some of our more commonly sold items on those platforms as well.
Now, does Amplified Parts participate at the NAMM convention every January out in Anaheim?
We do, yeah. We go to the Winter NAMM in Anaheim, and we will also go to the Summer NAMM at Nashville, as well as many of the vintage guitar shows. We're usually at those, the smaller shows on the weekends in places like Franklin, Tennessee, and Orlando, Florida, and all those kind of good places. You can find our one of our guys at least over there with magazines and whatnot at the vintage show. So yeah, look for us.
Excellent. All right, once again, go over there and visit amplifiedparts.com and check it out for yourself. And once again, Clark, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to speak to us today. And hopefully some of our gearheads will contact you and you can help them as well.
You got it, Neeley. Thanks for the time. We always appreciate it. You guys have a great one out there.